Thank you, Jan. The people in the bath together I thought it was something from long ago when I used to teach when I taught in Western Australia. We'd be out in the bush, and late in the year, the sun, I'd sort of wait to go into the talk, and I had a strong feeling I didn't know what I was doing or what I should talk about and things like that. And so I'd just go out into the bush and sort of wait. And not even thinking that would work as a technique, but it was something, it was a place to go. And the setting sun, the red light would strike that eucalyptus, which often bleed red sap, and something extraordinary seemed to be happening. And I remember noticing that all life has that extraordinary quality. And that's what it's like being in the bath together, really. All life has that extraordinary quality. And I think we notice that the point about being in a vessel together is that it dignifies the journey. We start to notice that we can't really object to the path. We can't object to ourselves. And when we object to ourselves, it seems kind of trivial. It's like we're out there in a wide, beautiful, with a wide prospect, a wide view, with good companions, and we're saying, wait, this is really disturbing. I don't know who I am here. I want to run back into my small hut, my telephone booth, which is basically what I suppose the definition of suffering is. This isn't right. I need something different. And so in Sesshin is a kind of turning like that light coming through the horizontal light coming and splashing into the eucalyptus, and the grass seemed sort of so green, it was very frosty grass would seem very green, intensely, strangely green. Occasionally a kangaroo would go through. And everything was thus. And so I want to talk today about, I think, the beginning of that whole process when everything becomes thus, or everything becomes illuminated, which is, I think being lost is the beginning. And I've been at two minds of whether the beginning is some predicament like hanging from a branch by your teeth, or the beginning is being lost. And I think I've decided, perhaps arbitrarily, that being lost is the thing. Predicaments will be provided aplenty, and being lost is the thing. And when you're lost, you just don't know. You're out of the known territory, and that's the crucial thing. Get out of the territory you know about and the territory that you feel you belong in, or that you belong to, or belongs to you. The territory where you know your moves. And you can feel it. Basho has a poem. It's about the turning of the year, sort of summer turning to autumn, I think. But at the moon viewing party, there is no one with a beautiful face. And usually the host tends to want to flatter the guests and say, wow, this session is so special. We all look beautiful. And that's not what Basho is saying. He's saying everything is taken off us and we can meet. Everything is taken away, and so all the things we usually have in the way, like comparing mind, is very strong. when it's strong. It's not always, but where I compare myself to others, or I say, wow, they're really good at that. If only I, or if only someone had given me what they have, things like that. And but all the while, we have the gift ourselves. It's like that light is always striking through the trees in Western Australia, still doing it right now. And here's it when Basho was sort of feeling around, he was kind of lost actually, feeling around, trying to discover that he was a haiku poet, and this was haiku. And he's looking over a bay and he says, spring blossoms and autumn leaves, they're nothing compared to these thatched huts in the autumn twilight. Not a haiku yet, but you can tell that thing, where you look and just see a haystack in twilight, and the whole of the universe is fulfilled in that haystack. And here's another one of, this is Yasui, actually. Lonely autumn, a sigh, the sound of a far-off temple bell. The sound of the far-off temple bell. That one became a koan, and you can tell every time someone hits the temple bell, it touches us. It resolves the problems of being human. And so those simple things, I don't know, it's those the simple revelations of life are there. And I think the key thing about being together in the work with a koan is that we don't control the process ourselves. So the key thing is, and that's the being lost, we are beyond our capacity to predict what will happen next and and to know what we should be doing or to know what should happen next. It's especially important. So whenever someone comes to you and says, well, I should be, you say, no, you shouldn't. Because you know the answer already. I don't know what you should be doing, but it's not that. Whatever you're going to say, it's not that. And there's a kind of, the Dharma just does a kind of aikido and puts a spaciousness and throws that stuff around, those fixed attitudes in the mind. So the koan I want to talk about today is Great Yunmen, the Cloud Gate. It's the koan about being lost. There's more than one koan about being lost, but surprising number of koans about terrible predicaments, like you're being trapped in a stone grave or hanging from a branch by your teeth from a tall tree, and being a goose raised in a bottle, or many things like that, coming face to face with the Loch Ness monster. But I think there's an insufficiency of koans about being lost and disoriented that yin men will provide. Everyone has a light. Everyone has their own light. When you try to see it, you can't. It's dark, dark. Now, what is your light? And then he had a great response to this, which was about, that haystack in the field and the light striking horizontally into the eucalyptus. And he said, the kitchen pantry, the great entrance gate, that's your light. So you look at look at all the windows here. We have these temple windows, sacred windows here, with sacred travelers in each one. That's great, isn't it? Each one has a pilgrim out. It's great. It's sort of like Advent calendars, but each one has a true traveler of the way. And you realize, oh, the light, everyone's got their own light. But then I think the true, that was one of his things. Where's your light? You try to see it, you can't, it's dark, dark. The other one of his that I think maybe slightly better describes that is You make things out in daylight. You find your way by daylight. But what if it's dark? There's no moon, no light. How will you get hold of something? No moon, no stars, no light. How will you get hold of something? So how will you get hold of something then? And so he's thrusting. I mean, you can tell what's happening here. If you enter Yun Men and let Yun Men have you and swirl you around and throw you up in the air, the great master he is, then you realize, oh, I'm lost again. He's stealing everything I have. You know? So, and then, so then you can tell he's more interested. I think the thing is to be more interested in uncertainty than not. And I think most of the suffering we get to in sesshin, or in life generally, would be that you get pretty skilled at rushing through what we don't know about and stepping into a new certainty, a new idea about things, which is why anything creative is a new thing. It's new to you. And so love is always going to be new to you. Because the moves you made, you know, last night or 10 years ago, I don't know, maybe they still work, but they're stepping out into that darkness that just seems important, you know, so that even if you're with someone you love and it's great, you still have to take that risk of stepping into territory you haven't been in. And so not seeing them the way you expect them to be, and that can be a friend, it can be a student, a teacher, it could be anyone, but it's not, we don't have to think of them the way we've always thought of them. That would be moving in the dark, the crucial thing. And I think when we're willing to do that, we discover things. One of the, I've been, somebody invited me to be on a podcast who's kind of very famous. It's a huge podcast and things. And I thought, so I listened to some podcasts and all these really smart people talking about neuroscience and stuff and how to fix your life and make it better. And I thought, I don't know, what could I contribute here? And what I can contribute is uncertainty. You know, I don't know. I can't even be certain about that. But I thought, I don't know, it's not about what I have no idea. I won't know what I contribute to that until I'm in it. But there's something about we run into all sorts of uncertainty. What will happen to the economy when the politicians screw it up? Surely they won't do that. So what will happen to me if the economy gets screwed up? How will I get a job? Will my pension still come through? Things like that. What will happen to my child? So we have all these sort of dark forebodings, but they're all fears. And if you just enter the uncertainty, then you find that you can't be anywhere else but here. And it's a marvelous thing, and you stop being afraid. And in some way, you realize that the Tao will carry you, and you don't have to worry about stuff so much. And that's what the practice is. You're in it, so be in it. Don't try to be through to the next thing. I suppose that would be the simplest recommendation in practice. You know, we're in the soup together. And it's a marvelous thing. So it's good to have companions in the soup, but being in the soup is amazingly interesting. So, which you may not have thought. I thought and also one of the things you'll notice is we're connected in mysterious ways that we can't explain. And so I don't know about that, but dreams are very interested in that possibility. I remember, and then you start noticing, not just dreams, but so many things in life. If you look at someone's face in them, you get curious about, I wonder why that face attracted me, what touches me. And you notice what touches you in your heart, and you notice that you don't have to conceal anything or throw an image of yourself out there, because everyone can see everything. Nice to know, actually. And mainly about walking the way, what we call it, the Tao Te Ching, the De is integrity. And the main thing about integrity is, well, just be that person that you are, and don't be aligning yourself so you'll get whatever it is, more famous or you'll be more charming to people, or you won't be so embarrassed about, being the idiot you are, or whatever it is. So that's why Zen is quite, let no one has a beautiful face, that sort of thing. Zen is quite good on, names like the idiot or, the blockhead. The great blockhead was Daisetsu Suzuki, means big blockhead, Dai sets. So it's all right to have the Tao unfold. And then we find we're connected in all these strange ways. And some of them are beautiful, and they're really just our destiny. I remember when I started to connect with a bunch of Jungians a long time ago now. And I remember I thought, well, who do I want to talk with more and stuff like that? And so I went to see a couple of people, and I came back, and one person, I had a dream that he took me into this kind of temple-like place, and there was a swimming pool in the middle of it, and I thought that was interesting in the dream. And he pulled back the cover of the swimming pool, and there was this really rich, beautiful red color water, but the light was radiating out of the swimming pool. And he pulled back about 3/4 of it, and I could see. And the red was exactly the same as I have an oblong Bokara rug in my Doksan room, and it was the same color light. And it was full of warmth and feeling, and something I needed, it gave me a way to go. And so your dreams will know things that you can't. And sometimes they're sort of, I don't know if they're good or bad, but they're just I would say they're objective. I had a friend who, out of that world, a friend I used to, was a very substantial person who'd spent most of his life hiding from that in a way. And then he came to me to help him write a book, and mainly because he wanted a friend, and he'd come up in the after, and you could just tell there was something going on for me that he wanted, that I wasn't afraid of some things. And so he would come up and he'd bring his manuscript, and he was just a terrible writer. But he was a deep person, and I felt for him, and I felt like it's like one of those music producers. Someone comes who's, they've got a great idea, but they just don't know what they're doing. So something, so I felt like that with him. But I liked him, and he settled down, and then I started saying, well, I think you mean this. He said, yeah, that's what I mean. And gradually we wrote his book that way. It was very funny. And he'd come up sometimes. He really loved oysters, and he'd bring oysters and things. So at a house down in Inverness, on the rift, where the Tamales Bay rift is, where the Pacific Plate begins. And then he started having these dreams, and he said he had this dream where he went into this cave, and there was this big bear who was sleeping in the cave and wanted to roll over on him, and he kept trying to push the bear off him. And I said, well, how did you get to go in the cave? And he said, well, I have this old friend who's a shaman, and connected with the Navajo, the Dine people, and he was someone I had a little bit of a connection to too. And he said, and he just told me to go there in the dream. I said, well, next time tell him to knock it off. Don't send you to sleep in a cave with a big bear that's going to roll on you. I don't know. It's like, look after yourself, dude. And then he had more and more dreams where his shaman friend would appear and say something to him, and he'd follow him. I said to him, "So you're going over, aren't you?" And he said, "Yeah." And then a little while, but I didn't think there was any hurry about that. But a little while later, and there was nothing wrong with him. He's a healthy creature, and, not a hard living person at all, and spent a lot of his time walking along the beach at Point Reyes, and then doing dream analysis. Anyway, and then so I had a series of these dreams. I was very touched, and I just had this conversation with him. Is this kind of what you're getting into something with these dreams, and you're going off into somewhere, and is this okay with you? And he said it was. And I got a email from his wife saying he died. I looked at what I felt, and I felt okay. But so you can see that I'm telling a story about how the worlds interpenetrate, the world that you don't understand and can't predict, and it's in you. It's in you. So you can't make the world solid. And I've done, I would take a different strategy than him in that way, but I'd tell my friend, why don't you help me stay on this side? Which I've had dead friends visit me and say, come on, help me on this side. I don't want you dragging me across. And so you get these marvelous dreams, and they always tell you about, I don't know, they're a kind of blessing on your life. That was a blessing on his life, even so, I think. But that we know things we don't know. Like he knew he was, I don't know, he was somehow planning to die. And I didn't know that. It seemed pretty good shape to me, still had a busy work life, things like that. We start to understand things in a different kind of way. I had, when I got sick quite a while ago now, I got kind of sick, and there's where's this going to go? And I had this dream. I was at a conference, like maybe in somewhere like Tucson, or maybe it was about this or that. But anyway, I just wanted some air, and I walked outside, and I walked outside the conference center, and suddenly I didn't know where I was in the dream. And there was a cantina across the road, and I thought, well, I'll go across and get some tacos or something. So I went into the cantina, and it was very busy, and people were thronged around, and they were kind of enjoying themselves, but really crowded. It just felt like, I don't know, this doesn't feel like, it feels strange, this place. And then but I decided, well, I don't know, I'm not going to get served here. It's too busy. So I decided, I'll go back outside and find some other cafe or something. And I walked outside, and there was just this great vast desert with stars. Hang on, this doesn't seem right. So I was lost. So the lost theme, in case you're looking for a theme here, lost is a theme. I didn't know what to do with my diagnosis, and I didn't know what to do with other things. The way my friend, I think, didn't know what to do with his marriage and his life, So I didn't know what to do. And so I turned around and went, and there was this interesting guy in the cantina, a very handsome guy who was sort of like Prince or something, and with sort of fairly dark skin, and he was obviously in charge of things in there. And I walked back in, and there's something very underworldy about the cafe. And he looked at me and he said, you shouldn't be here. You need to leave. And so I thought, that sounds good. So I'll believe this guy. And I said, I can't find my way back. And so he walked outside with me, and we came, and there was just this big empty highway, just passing by, and I could go right or left in the stars and the desert. No sign of that, 10-story conference center or anything like that. And I said, well, which way do I go? And he said, you go this way, or that way. And I said, but which is the right way? And he said, this way or that way. And it was incredibly, made me incredibly, really happy in the dream. I thought, oh, it's mine. How I'll do with this issue, how I'll do being lost and in darkness. It's for me, it's mine. And I think that's how we navigate our lives, really. We never know what we're supposed to be doing and what we should be doing and what the outcome should be. And the Taoist, is a great Taoist thing about the true traveler has no fixed destination, no set time of arrival. And we realize that's true. Where are you going to? Well, I think I'm going to Los Angeles, but when are you going to arrive there? Well, I think, so it's like that. The true traveler has no set destination, no fixed time of arrival. I'm deep inside the beauty of things. I have many, many dreams like that, but I'll tell you this other. I had a dream. I was in Honolulu and in a big old house near where the old Zendo used to be and where I lived for some time. And I'm sitting in a room. You walk up the stairs and then there's a room on each side that you walk into. It's an old, probably built about, 1900 or something, beautiful coal wood floors and everything, rugs, and just a house that felt good to be in. And I'm sitting in one of the front rooms and I'm sitting next to Anne Aitken, who was an important figure in my Zen life and kind of felt looked after me and was always very welcoming and helpful to me. And she was married to Robert Aitken. And so I'm sitting there next to Anne and there's a chair on the other side of me and some other people are there. But and then I see Robert Aitken walk up the street and come up the stairs. And there was a little bit of a feeling when he, this happens with a Roshi. When he walked into the room, an interesting conversation would immediately stop. so there's a bit of I feel like that happens with me sometimes. But and so there's a bit of a feeling like, we were doing so well, but until the teacher arrived. but and I thought, well, he probably not much interested in what we're doing, and he'll go the other way. He'll go up the stairs and go the other way. But he didn't actually. He came into the room and he sat in the chair, other vacant chair next to me, and he looked at me and he kind of wanted my attention, but he looked at me in a sort of delicate sort of way, and I said, and I nodded and greeted him, and he handed me a package, and it was wrapped up in silk, and it was a very old rakusu, like I wrote this sort of thing, right? A teacher's rakusu with silk embroidered, complicated patterns and Japanese patterns on it that I had no memory of seeing, and it had been, sometimes your different teachers or the same teacher will put different seals or give you different names and you'll accumulate. So these rakusus can have a cumulative quality about them. And this one had a lot of stamps and things, but it had my name. It originally been given to me years before I started Zen. The date was, and so I was very touched, and that was kind of the dream, But there was that marvelous fabric quality about. There's something about the symbolic things we do, like making a rakusu, wearing a rakusu, meeting together to retreat rather than singly. In a way, putting up with each other, you're different from me. And finding that wonderful rather than a problem. But we get lost with each other all the time. And so trusting that lostness, and we might say, there's a lot to say about being lost, really, but trusting that, or if you lose something, it might be good. I remember when I was, this time, 6 years ago, a couple of big fires burned through big fires burned through Northern California and killed people and destroyed the little town of Glen Ellen, which is the nearest town to me, actually. It just singed the front of the house I'm in now. And I left it, one of the screen doors had a metal handle and it just got distorted and twisted. And so I never got that screen door replaced, actually. It's still there, but it did, had to replace the front of the house. And I was in the Himalayas in a Tibetan temple when I got the news by some ghost of a shadow of a satellite thing on a cell phone that I didn't even know was switched on. I'm sitting next to a Rinpoche in the high Himalayas. And it was kind of rather wonderful. And said, I hope you've evacuated, John. And I thought, well, there's probably not a lot I can do about that right now. So I went on with listening to the Rinpoche thing, giving my talk and thing. And I figured it had to be earthquake. It couldn't be earthquake because it meant a fire, and it wasn't going to be a tsunami because I live on a hill. So, and then a couple of days later, I got to get Wi-Fi and found out still couldn't get into the house, and everybody thought the house was burnt, was destroyed, including my friends with part of AT&T drove, couldn't get in and things like that. And I noticed that it was all right. Losing things is all right. And I thought, well, what about those wonderful paintings I have that people have given me as the originals? And it's all right. It's all right, And in fact, I'll live somewhere else. I'll live in a different house or whatever. It's all right. And there was a certain sense of freedom, Never have to sort out my books. That will be a play like that, So it was all right. And so that kind of freedom of the emptiness that attends everything, and people come and go in this life. And so there's one of my friends here is her husband's dying right now. And so the big solution for her, her and a friend are going to do a rakusu for her. She is going to sew a rakusu together, so that we had a flurry a couple of days ago. And she's a close friend. And I sent, and all the people I'm asking, of course, are people who don't know. And finally, Jordan's got it. And so I contact, and Jordan's here in Session, so it was kind of crazy. And then he said, well, Michelle's the curator of it. And so I sent to Michelle saying, could you send the template, because it'll be good for her to sew and it'll be good for me too, and that's what it's like, that we share the sacred art together, I suppose, and so that's what you do when we're always lost, and then we have these sacred tasks that we do together. And so it's like that rucksuit that old Robert Aiken gave me. It doesn't exist in any other world than the dream world. Very beautiful, old, much patched and beaten up rakusu. What happens when you're in the bath is you see the emptiness things, and people are allowed to come and go, and you're allowed to come and go. And we have to trust, then we step into the bardas, and we have to trust how we become all the things. We become the forests and the trees, the birds, and who knows what else we become. And it turns into us, And I don't know. Seems all right to me, just saying. So the universe is allowed to have me die, So I'm kind of for the universe doing what the universe absolutely is going to do anyway. So yeah. So I don't know. It's the last night of session, and you guys are due for a break. And I thought I might take a cut. Anybody want to say anything? Like, Tess, did you want to say anything? No is a perfectly good response if you don't. So.
Just two quick things come to mind, I guess. As you were talking tonight, I love just that. I don't know, the being in the desert part underneath the stars. For some reason, was remembering a time in my life I was really, really, really profoundly lost and had absolutely no idea how to get a hold of anything other than I could tell I was in relationship with something as that was happening. And none of my usual ways of making sense of it worked. None of my usual frames of understanding what was happening worked, like nothing. But one night, out of the blue, I just sat down and wrote a poem. And it wasn't, a literary prize or anything. I'm not a poet, but the images that came out of my heart onto the page just arrived in that same way that you said the universe is, allowed to do it at once. And it was all about being lost in the desert, and that all I could do was just pace underneath the moon in the desert, but I could find the footsteps of those who'd wandered before, and there was some trace of faith that the rains were coming, that something was coming. And it was kind of incredible to me how those images appeared, and they kept me company for a good long time after that, even though I still didn't have any idea when the rain was coming or what might happen. So
Thank you. It reminded me a detail of when I stepped out in the desert and back into the cantina, and the prince who was in the cantina, I got this voice, and this is Anubis, who's the Egyptian god of the underworld. They're in a cantina, so running the cantina, actually. So if you want to know where the Egyptian gods went, but and there was a tremendous dignity about that, and I thought of his kindness, saying, "You don't belong here. You need to leave." And sometimes that's a good thing. You need to go back into your life, and it doesn't matter if you thought you're sick or whatever it was. Lonnie, did you want to say anything? You don't have to. But
the being lost, it's kind of extraordinary. I think I'm there. I'm not sure. I feel that way. But I remember, I have an early memory of being a baby in a crib, and there was a big window, and all I could see was just night sky and stars. And I remember feeling that I was in them. I don't think I had words, but I remember being completely unafraid. And it's both you and Tess have brought back that memory for me. And it's been one of the treasured memories Tess was talking about, that things that come back, that arrive when you need them. So.
Thanks. Yeah. Being lost has a transformative beauty to it when we stop thinking we should be somewhere else, stop panicking. I actually kind of feel quite close to Anubis, actually. I mean, I feel like he's on my side. So, Jesse, you want to say anything?
You were talking about stack of hay and the light coming in. It reminds me of a Jane Kenyon poem where it's called After the Harvest or After the Haying or something, where the men are just sitting around smoking their cigarettes, and it's dark, and the roseate, the bright light of the end of the cigarette when they're drawing in on it. Just that beautiful, beautiful image.
Life. Dave Weinstein, anything you want to say?
I've just been sitting with appreciating how much I enjoy being found after I've been lost, and how I can't really separate them.
Yeah, Dante starts his great Commedia, starts it with going down and starts it with being lost. And midway through this life, I found myself in a dark wood. And he found it very, very frightening. He lost. It's a kind of sacred thing. Every time you're lost, you don't know how to feel, what you're feeling. Don't reach for, this is because of my childhood. Reach for, I'm lost. And then you can have it. So let's just, just feel this time together just a little bit, living and dying together. Basho also said, in one of his much later poems, no one walks this road autumn evening. Just the vastness is there. It just felt objective to him. He didn't feel, in a way, personally involved. But he was everything, And so whatever we have that troubles us, no one is walking that road. Great thing. So good to be together, I think, Nice thing, yeah. So, okay then. Restore the whole. That's somebody else's line. You see, that's why we need forms. We have the line here.
Restore the hall.
Excellent.